Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 34 of the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week we're going to be talking about our favorite trick-taking, ladder climbing games. Now, ladder climbing for myself is a new term I had not heard before, and we were trying to figure out what the difference is. And from what I understand, ladder climbing is where you have like higher levels of cards that you could play, where like maybe a pair is better than a single card, but then a run or so on. Is that how you understand it to be, Carla?
Yeah, and true trick-taking is where everybody would get one turn, or at least one turn around the table. Whereas a ladder climbing, sometimes you won't get a turn because it could be beat on the second play of the game or something. But they're so similar mechanics that we kind of combined them together for this list.
You betcha. Now, before we start talking about our top games for this category, tell us, what have you been playing?
Well, I got to play Obsession last week.
Oh, nice.
Just a 2-player game, but such a good game. I did play it once at FallCon. I taught 2 people, and then me and Cherry played this week, and it's such a fun game because you're basically playing Downton Abbey, the board game, or what's the new one, Bridgerton, kind of.
Nice.
Just that like old English theme of, proper butlers and ladies' maids and all kinds of things. And all these butlers, ladies' maids, valets, they're all the meeples and your workers. So you use them, like they do consider it a bit of a worker placement, but it really isn't true to what we're used to because you only put them on your board. Like you don't go to spots, but you have these tiles in front of you and you have 4 different categories of tiles and they're colored. And so you will take one tile and you'll place it on the top of your board, and then it may require some workers on it itself. So you may need a butler to help with this event because you're putting on events. And what you're trying to do is win the favor of the Fairchild. So you're a family who is in low respect right now and you're trying to gain it so that you can marry one of your children to one of the Fairchilds.
That's funny.
Such a funny theme, but so you'll place this tile on your board and then you'll place a worker if you need it. And then you have also a hand of cards. So you start with your own family, and there's 8 different families with the expansion. And you'll have like usually 4 family cards, so 2 males and 2 females. And then you will have to play some of these. So the tile might say you can have 2 gentry at this event. So that could be any male or female, or it might say 2 gentlemen or 2 ladies or a different number or combined. And so you'll have to play some of those cards from your hand, but some of those cards also require, like one of the ladies might require a lady's maid. So you have to have that worker available in order to play those cards. So you'll put your workers on your cards if need be, and then you'll get favors. So you'll either get reputation, which is what you want for sure. It's big points at the end. You'll get money, which you need to buy more tiles. Or you could also get more cards, which are more people. So there's 2 decks of cards. There's the basic guests, and then there's the fancy guests. I can't remember the exact name for them, and they will give you more points, and they have a higher reputation. So you'll only be able to play those if you get your reputation up. So you're trying to build up your reputation to get to be playing these higher reputative people because they'll give you better favors. So you're just trying to gain like all these favors, money, and reputation throughout the game. And then there's different events too that you try to build up to. There's objectives, milestones at the end of the game. It's a really unique, fun game that I think everybody should give a try. Even if they don't love the theme, there's many people that are not into this theme but love this game because of the mechanics. It's awesome. Another one I played was Eternal Palace. I just got this with my Kickstarter of Dice Theme Park. And now this one has a similar play to Kingsburg, where you are taking your dice, rolling them, and then whoever has the lowest pip value gets to go first. But the difference is then you have this screen, everyone has one, and you will divide your dice up into groups of where you want to place them on the board. So you'll divide them up, and then everybody will lift their screen, and then it's locked there. So if I have like a 1 and I go there first to this spot, then the next people who go will have to pay fish in order to go there. But there's different spots on the board. A lot of them are resource collecting. Some are to collect monuments. Some are to collect assistants, which are cards that will give you more powers. But the neat thing about it is once you get to the top of one of the tracks on each of the resource spots, you get to take a painting or part of a painting. And you're kind of building this painting in layers. So it's so beautiful because it'll have different landscapes of like water, land, forest, rivers, like all kinds of things. And there is an easel you can use to line them up, or you can just put them flat, and then you can just kind of spread them out and see all the landscapes. And so that's what it is. It's a race to whoever gets 8 of those first. So once you get to 8, it ends the game, and then there's different points that you calculate. Whoever got to 8 first gets 1. There's a track, this palace track you move up, that'll get you a lot of points. But also however many you have in sequential order. So if I have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then I have 2, 3, 4, 5, then I have 6 sequentially. But say the person I'm playing with might only have 5, well then I win that award. And so there's different ways to score points. The monuments each give you points, and then there's these features, and it's really neat and a very quick game, like you play it in a half an hour, but such a unique theme. And one other one that I played was SOS Titanic. Now this is it can be multiple player, and I have played it with multiple players, but it's mostly a solo game. It's a card game based on the Klondike solitaire mechanics, kind of, where you're basically playing solitaire, but the theme is you're getting all these guests onto lifeboats. So you have your 2, like your high-class people, low-class people, and they have to go on separate boats. And you have to line them up so you'll get like the higher numbers on top, and then you'll lay your cards lower, and then once you get a lifeboat, which would be like an ace, then you would start putting the guests on those sequentially. It's really hard, this one, though. There's different player powers and things that will help you kind of go through your deck better or to be able to place more, but it's very tricky. It's not as easy as just like solitaire. But such a neat theme, because if you don't get them all on, the rest of them they'll sink with the ship. So you're trying to get as many possible as you can. And you can win the game with getting, I think, the majority of the people on or something. But it's so neat because you have these different captains that'll give you, or different workers that are on the boat that give you powers, and they can help you do different things. But it's such a neat theme. And it was a game that was reprinted from years and years ago, that was out of print and was selling for a ridiculous price on the used market. And now you can get it, and they made like a deluxe version, which isn't all that much deluxe. It's just a little bit nicer than the older one. But that's what I've been playing lately. What about you?
Well, I finally actually got to play Land versus Sea. And I see why everybody compares it to Carcassonne. Because I'm like, it doesn't look like Carcassonne. It doesn't sound like it would be like Carcassonne. But just in the tile laying.
Just the tile thing.
Yeah, because you got 2 tiles. Now, the tiles are double-sided, and only you get to look at what's on the other side. And you have the tile in the middle where you start, and then one player plays as land and one person plays as sea. And you're trying to create these clusters. And when you can close down a cluster of your type, then you score every tile that's on there. And then if there's any kind of symbols on it, if you're the one who, like the X symbols, if you're the one who closed down that cluster, you get to score those as well. I ended up playing with Patrick, and I think he just beat me real good. No, it was with Jerome. It was funny. And then, at the end of the game, I was like, so what do you think? He's like, this one's fun. And for my kids to actually admit that they enjoy a game, it takes a lot. So, but it was neat. You kind of, just on trying to placing, because you're trying to place the thing and then close down your clusters, but then maybe spread out the other players' clusters. And then I find it's hard to concentrate on both. And then if you kind of be like, okay, well, I'm going to put that there, and then it's going to spread them out, then you're not really closing down your own clusters. But it was neat. Then we also played Marvel Legendary with Lee and Patrick. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the Legendary deck building games and the Legendary Encounters one. So with the Encounters, you have like the cards go down and you don't see them until you scan them. With these ones, with the Legendary, the original one, you flip them up as they go, and they don't go into like the combat area where they're gonna keep attacking you, but they go away if you don't, like they escape if you don't kind of defeat the card before it goes down the track, basically. With this one, I mean, we had, I don't know, we were playing against Red Skull, and they had Hydra people in there, and then we had, well, I'm trying to remember who the monsters were. Like the Spider-Man foes were in there, and it was so interesting though. And it's a fun one. So we played with Patrick, and I think he enjoyed it. Then afterwards, I played a round of Choose Your Own Adventure House of Danger with Patrick. And I just kind of like, I was the one reading the cards. And basically it plays like a book where you choose your own adventure, and you kind of, like, you get all these cards, and it's chapter 1, and it's kind of made it to look a bit like it's a board game, a book. And then you have the card, and then you kind of reach for the card underneath, because you have like the chapter 1 card that kind of hides what's coming. And then you read what's happening, and then be like, okay, so do you want to do this, or do you want to do this? And if you do this, you go get the card number 73. But if you do this, then you go get card number 20 or whatever. And then I'm letting Patrick make all the decision. And he died twice before we made it. So he makes terrible decision. He exploded on the landmine once, and I think he got eaten by dogs once or something like that. But so yeah, he was but it was interesting. So I want to play this with Lily. I think she would appreciate it a little bit better than Patrick did, but it was neat though. And then you kind of keep track of your danger level, because like, oh no, this happened, so your danger level goes up, or in your psychic level or something as well. It was interesting. We only did the first chapter, but it was neat. I enjoyed that one. And that's all I've played this last couple days here. So I guess we might as well get started with our top 9. So what's your number 9 for trick taking game?
I do have one little honorable mention. I have played a game. Well, a few times. I played it in person and then on BGA. It's called Jekyll versus Hyde. And this one is a 2-player trick-taking game. And it's quite unique because there's 3 suits in the game. And you also have potions in the game. But what you do is one of you is Jekyll and one of you is Hyde. And I forget which one wants this thing, but one of them wants to have a wide spread of tricks. So like, either I win one and you win the rest, whereas the other one wants them to be even so that you are like very close, like say 5 and 5 or however many there are. Because if you do have the wide spread, I'm pretty sure it's Hyde, because that's the evil guy. Is Hyde the evil guy? Yeah. So he wants the wide spread, and Hyde wants to keep it even. Because if it's widespread, then he gets to move up on this track. So say I won 6 tricks and you won 1. It would move 5, and he wants to get off the board kind of thing, whereas Dr. Jekyll just wants to keep it even so he doesn't move that. But how you play is I can't remember who starts, but one player will play a card, and the first suit that is played, you put this little pawn on the board, and that will be the weakest of the game. And until someone plays another suit, then that pawn will be the second strongest or second weakest, and then so on. And then the third suit's played, that's the strongest suit. So it's quite tricky because, you want to win the first one, maybe, and then, or you might have a hand of really good cards, and then you don't want to win all of them if you're trying to keep it even. And then there's these potions that you'll play that will reset the board so that then the pawns will come off and the whole strong and weak suits will be different. So it's a very tactical game. You can't have a plan from the beginning. But it was it was tricky and intriguing. That's all I can say. I'm not sure that I like it or love it yet, but it's so unique and different. And I've tried it a couple times on BGA, and it's just something that everyone has to kind of try to like trick their trick-taking brain, because it's so crazy. But it's a neat one. But my number 9 is Skull King, made in 2013 by Brent Beck and Jeffrey Beck, and this is from Grandpa Beck's Games. And one thing they do, which is so neat, I've never ordered directly from them, but if you do order directly from their site, they'll send you a box with, and it's like a really neat little box with like fancy wrap, and you open it up and there's like a note in it and everything. They kind of go the extra mile that way.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
usually will get mine, off of like Boardgame Bliss or Amazon or whatnot. But this game is unique. It's similar to a game called Wizard that I used to play when I was younger, where you have to guess how many tricks you're going to win. So there's all kinds of suits in this game too. There's, you can play with just the basic, or you can add more suits, which are, can do different things, which is neat. But the neat part about it is the guessing how many tricks you get, and you'll all kind of guess, and then there's either cards or you can put up, fingers, and then you have to write that down. And then if you equal the amount of tricks that you guessed, you get like more points. But if you're under, you lose points, or if you're over, you lose points. So it's quite tricky because you're trying to win just the amount that you've guessed and trying to lose the rest. But people usually will try to, if you've already got the ones you need, they'll try to give you another trick if theirs isn't working out, So it's quite neat. And the suits in them are kind of cool too, like the mermaids, or there's like a Skull King who can kind of beat everything, but if there's also a mermaid suit that if she's on the board, well, she will like distract him, and then she'll win the trick because she's so beautiful. And it's just really neat. I can't remember how all the suits work exactly, but such a neat and unique game. And that's my number 9, Skull King.
Wonderful. That is neat. Like it's different to play a trick-taking game when you're trying to have a specific number of trick. That was the first time I played that. I was like, whoa, this kind of really changes everything, really.
Exactly. You're not just trying to win everything.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of
and trying
backwards.
To lose a trick. Yeah, it just kind of changes the way you play. Now, I too also have an honorable mention. This game would have been my number 1 game in this list. However, it's not published yet, or it's not readily available, so I didn't mention it. But this is Deckbuild the Halls, which is part of the Bah Humbug 12 Games of Christmas collection from Small Furry Game. And this was created by my friend Duncan. Michael
awesome.
brought it over.
The card game. I have the game that was print and played last year. And then I have yet to try out his version of it, because she put out that like if all these designers can design games off of my game, and he did that.
Yes.
I really want to learn it because I have the cards. I print and played the
Oh,
cards.
that's great. It's a cool game. Because Michael had brought it over and he's like, hey, Duncan's designed this game. You got to try it. It's amazing. And it combines 2 mechanisms that I had never seen together. Like it feels unique. And it's deck building and trick taking, which just blew my mind the first time we played it. And then you're kind of doing and then you purchase card that goes in your deck that kind of adds to the deck building aspect. Like it was so cool. It was so cool. And I'd never seen the actual cards because we had kind of like Michael had made a makeshift of these cards. So
he print and played them too, probably.
Well, and it was like, I think he just kind of got a regular deck of cards that he kind of shimmied to make it like that one, but it's neat. It is so cool.
Oh, you have to teach me that version because I have the cards.
yeah, for sure. We'd have to give that.
And
but
it's Christmas themed.
Well, yay! There's not a lot of Christmas themed games out there, no. But yeah, so awesome. I really want this one, and I was so impressed with it the first time I played. Like after the game stopped, I'm like texting Duncan right away. Now Duncan is a game designer. He's designed a few games, and they're great games. They're not published yet. I think he's a bit of a perfectionist, kind of make sure that his games are tested properly. But they're neat. And then this one just, like I said, it blew my mind. So that would have been my number one game had it been a readily available game, but it's not quite yet. My number 9 is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. So it's created in 2019. It's the designer is Thomas Singh, and it was published by Cosmos. Now, to be fair, I've only played this one time. It was a previous Malcon, and it was all like, I think one of us had played before and the other two playing, like we hadn't played it. But it's kind of interesting because it's a trick taking, but you have these kind of mission cards that comes up where you're trying to say, okay, well, this card has to win a trick in order to complete this mission. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you kind of discuss a bit as a team as like, okay, well, who are we going to try to get to win this or whatever? Like, depends. Sometimes like the player who has this mission has to win or whatever it was. And it was interesting, but then we were playing is like, okay, so this card has to win this trick, then I'm going to play this one. So then whoever has that card can win it right now. And he forgot to play it. And it was like, and I'm like, that should have worked. I don't understand. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry, that was me. I forgot. And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you need everyone focused in this.
Oh, my God. Like, it was like, and this happened a few times, like, okay, this isn't working. But he's like, he just got, oh, no, I forgot. So I don't know if it was too early or too late or what was happening that time, but it looked interesting. But the one time I played it, it was like, it was broken. we were failing a lot because of that. But it was neat. And the concept was cool. So that's my number 9, The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9.
That's awesome, because that's my number 8, The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. I've only played this first one, too, because there is a sequel, I think it's the Deep Sea or something, where it has improved a little bit, even more on the mechanics, but this is such a great game, and I can't find a group to play with, but they do have it on BGA now, so I'm gonna I just remembered again that they have it there when you talked about it right now, so I'm gonna have to play it on there again, because I would love to go through all the missions. I think we went through maybe up to like 10 of them, and then whoever I was playing was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, this is awesome, what are you talking about? But yeah, no, good choice. That's my number 8 as well. But I did want to mention one thing about that Bah Humbug. So what happened last year around November was they put it, the designer, I believe it's a female, maybe it's not, but I can't remember her name right now. And so she put it out on Kickstarter as a print and play. But the thing was, she wanted to produce it as a game for this year. So she was supposedly, like, she put it as a print and play. And if you did purchase the print and play, which was super cheap because you're basically printing it yourself, you're just getting the rights to it. She was also going to put out a Kickstarter this year selling the physical game. But I haven't seen it yet, which you would think it would have been out already for it to get to us by Christmas. But maybe she's not doing that anymore. But
I think that's still the plan, but it's going to be later in the year. Because with Christmas thing, like it sells better around Christmas for people to pledge than for it to be delivered around Christmas, right?
Oh, you think so? Yeah,
I think so. So I think
would rather
November as well.
Oh,
yeah, I think it's.
She's gonna put it out. I see.
I think.
Oh, that's good, and that's when all the versions of the different designs.
Yeah, the 12 different version. Awesome. So I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, what's your number 8?
So my number 8 is a game that I've only played once in November. So almost a year ago. And that's Scout. It was published in 2019. It's created by Kei Kajino, and it's an Oink Games. And again, Michael's the one who introduces me to all these little trick-taking games.
He loves trick-taking games.
He really does. So he brought it over, and it was really interesting because at the start of your game, like these cards have 2 different sets of numbers on either side. So you kind of decide which side you want to play. It's like, okay, well, do you want to play your deck this way, or will you flip and play these numbers this way? And then this is fuzzy for me, but like there are times where if you can't play, you can go and scout a card instead and kind of add cards to your deck. And like I said, it was really fuzzy. This has been talked about so much right now. Like in the past few months, Scout has just kind of been really on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like, and then I've played it, a long time ago. And I was trying to watch a tutorial video real quick to kind of refresh myself a bit yesterday. But then I ended up doing it with all the other cards games that I've got on my list. So I'm missing the details. But I just remember playing it, and it was really neat. So that's my number 8, Scout.
Yeah. Yeah, and for all you listeners, when we say we're fuzzy about things, it's because we play hundreds and hundreds of games, like, and learn that many.
Yeah.
Like, I'm constantly reading rule books, so if you're like, oh, they totally didn't get that rule, well, that's because they do start to blend together. Some of the games really that are similar. And so if we do make a mistake on a rule, that is why, because we're learning and playing so many games that some of them do start to blend. But I totally get you there. So that's your number 8. Well, my number 7 is Stickem, and this was made in 1993 by Klaus Palisch. Now, this one is kind of unique because you have a pain card, which is funny. So you have, I can't remember how many suits, but you'll be dealt one card at the beginning, and whatever color it is, that is your pain color. And so if you ever end up with tricks in that suit, those will be negative points. So you're always trying to not get those cards or get the least amount of possible. And it's played differently because it's always the highest card that wins. It doesn't matter the suit, I believe. Again, if I'm getting this wrong, it's just because they're blending, because they're all blending together. But yeah, it's a really unique one, and I've been trying to get it to the table with my family for the last few weeks, but because usually we have a Monday family supper with my dad and my brother and everyone. But it's been so nice out. We've been just sitting out on the deck or below our deck and just, watching the dogs play and stuff. But pretty soon it'll cool off and it'll be back to cards after supper. But yeah, this is a really cool one. And that's, I think Michael I don't know if he introduced us to this or introduced me to this or...
Yeah, he did to me.
I know he had talked about it. Did he? Yeah. Okay, so that's my number 7, Stickem.
Yep.
I think there is a German name for it too.
Yeah, it kind of, I think that's the one I have, the German version.
Yeah.
Which means Stickem, but I can't pronounce it, so. My number 7 is The Fox in the Forest. It was published in 2017, created by Joshua Burgell, and it's a Foxtrot Games. And this one is really interesting because it's a 2-player only trick-taking game. Now, half the cards you play have different abilities, and then the other half are just kind of regular cards you would play. And I remember, if you win all the tricks, you're going to score terrible. If you win only, one or no tricks, you're going to score terrible. You're trying to get into the sweet spot of, winning a few. So it's interesting where it's not every trick you want to win. You want to win some, but you want to lose some, trying to get where you would kind of maximize your score, basically. And then each time you win a trick, you kind of get a token to show that you won or whatever, so around. But then whoever, kind of has the most tokens at the end is the winner. I played this with Duncan once. I remember he'd stopped by the house, and then we were playing this, and my hand was so good.
Oh, really?
I had all the proper suit, because you do have the trump suit that you would be playing with, and I had all the proper trump suits in my hand. I'm about to win, and he played this one card, and I forgot that this card had this ability that changed the trump. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it was
well, there goes my plan.
Oh my god. It's one of those, as you're playing, because of those special ability cards, that just really changes things as you play it. I was like, oh, okay, I think it's going. Was it? Oh no, what did you just do? But it's a really fun one. Now, they've also done the Fox in the Forest Duel, which makes it a cooperative game. I've never played that. Oh, Duet. Yeah, I've never played that version, just the original Fox in the Forest. But it's a neat one. So that's my number 7.
Yeah, well, that's your number 6, right?
No, 7.
Oh, that's your number 7. Yeah, that's my number 6.
Oh, of course.
We're almost syncing up here. But yes, I love this game too. It's so neat and such a tactical game. You can't have a plan from the beginning because it can change on a dime. But I love that in games because a lot of times I don't have a big strategy. I kind of just play as I go and think on my feet. I don't really usually have a big plan. So this is awesome. I love it. And I do have the duet game and I've played it and it's really neat because you have to, I haven't played it for a while, but you have to do a certain amount of things each time and then you'll kind of move around on this board. And if you get to the end, I think it is, you lose. You don't want to get to the end. I think you want to like take all these chips off. I can't exactly remember how it works, but it is really neat. And it fits perfectly like with the 2-player, if you want to do a co-op, you play that one. You want to go head to head, you play the other one. Nice. I have both in my collection and they're just awesome. I love them. Well, that's my number 6. So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is the Dwarf King. It was created in 2011. It's a Bruno Fiducci game and it was published by Yellow. And this is like neat. It's a square box. It has like that little magnet close lid thing that flips open. Nice. And like it's all these different dwarf kind of suits in there. But what's really interesting is on your turn, you have 2 cards that you need to pick from. And it gives you a different goal for that round. So it's not always just playing the higher card wins the trick and that's a good thing. It could be that whoever wins the trick gets negative points this round but these cards change things up all the time and it tends to have like a positive thing where it'll give you something or negative thing and whoever does this lose something. And you kind of look at the cards at first and be like, okay, and you have your cards, but okay, well, I'm going to try to go for this. And you kind of select how this particular trick is going to play. So each round you have like a different goal and it changes the way you play quite a bit. But it was neat. And this is one that I haven't played in a long time and I've really got to play it again. But my number 6, the Dwarf King.
I've never heard of this one. To try that one out. That sounds cool. Well, my number 5 is Fuji Flush. I have 206 here, but I'm thinking that's 216. I don't think it was made in 206. I missed a number. So can't read my own writing. And it was made by Friedman Fries. This is one of his line of games. I think, did he also make 5 Cucumbers?
Yes, he did.
Fries? Okay. That is another cool one, and I forgot to put that on my list. So I'm going to put it as a tie between Fuji Flush because I just remembered that game. Because I always just go through mine, and then I forget others that I've played. But anyway, Fuji Flush is different because you will play cards at one at a time. And so if, say, I play a 2 and somebody else plays a 5... then the next player could actually play a 2 and it makes it stronger than the 5, I believe. I'm kind of getting fuzzy on these rules because I've only got to play it a couple times. I want to try it with a big group because I think once you multiply that single number and somebody has a real strong card, you can beat them out. So I can't remember though if you can play them, you have to play them sequentially, like the 2, 2, 2, or if you could play a 2 and someone a 5 and a 2. Whatever, but I don't know. Have you played this one, Mel?
No. I want to now.
But it's really neat. And I'm like you. I'm a little bit fuzzy on these rules, but I remember it was a game that was really hard to find, and then I think I found it on Amazon, like for super cheap. Which I'm like, I gotta get it. I immediately got it, and then I was telling all these people you can get it on here, and there was no more. It might have just been one that I got, but
nice.
It's a neat one. Yeah, that's my number 5, Fuji Flush.
Cool.
/ 5 Cucumbers. / 5.
All right, my number 5 is Rook. And Rook was created in 1906 by George S. Parker and Grace Parker. And it was published by Boardgame. And this is one that I had for a long time. I had never played it, didn't know how to play. And I think this is also one that has different variation of how people play it. And I played it at Melcon or Fall Cant. I think it was fall cant. And I think it was Duncan who was teaching us how to play, and it was neat because with this one, you play in teams. Now, the way that we played it, so like the first thing is you get dealt your hand and you look at your cards. And only certain cards are going to score. And I believe it's like 5, 10s, 14, and 20s. And those cards will score you points. The rest are just nothing. And you go look at your hand and then you bid on how much point you think your team will get this round. And be like, well, I think I'll get 50 points. And then people could be like, okay, well, I think I'll get 60. Okay. And then you kind of go around doing that. And then once you've kind of got somebody that won the bid, it'll be like, no, I pass. I don't think I can go above 80 or whatever they end up bidding. And then, so, okay, now they win this round. So they get to look at their card and they're going to pick a suit. So, okay, well, I've got a lot of blacks. So then black's the trump for this round. And then you kind of keep track of what their bid was and what the trump is. But with this one, they also called out a card, and there's a Rook card that kind of makes you automatically win that round. But you can't call out that one. But you would call out a card, say, okay, well, whoever has the black 13 or whatever it is on my team. So you pick a card that's not in your own hand, but you don't know who your teammate is at first until they play it, or you kind of like you're playing, then they're giving you points to be like, okay, I think it's him. And then that round, then if you win, you would get, so you would score that amount, and then your teammate would score that amount as well, and then the other team members would score what they got. But it's interesting. Now, if you bid and you didn't reach what you're supposed to bid, then those are going to be negative points. So you don't want to bid too high and get going. But it was so neat just with that hidden partner. It's kind of like I really, really enjoyed that. Now, I've seen it play where they don't do that hidden partner. They're just a person across is your partner. But that hidden partner thing was so much fun that I don't think I would play it otherwise, like any other way. And that's my number 5, Rook.
Well, that's interesting. I've never played it. I think I have like a mass market version of that game.
Yeah.
I've never played it, but I'm going to have to look into it. Awesome. That was your number 5. Yep. My number 4 is Diamonds, made in 2014 by Mike Fitzgerald. Now, this one is a really neat game because it's made in, you have 4 suits, and you'll play cards just like a normal trick-taking game where there's not a trump suit, but diamonds will beat everything, I believe. But you'll play a card, and if you can beat it, just like anything else, you have to follow suit. And if you can't follow suit, you can play another card. But the thing is, you'll get a suit action if you can't follow suit. So like normal trick-taking games, you'll slough a card and you get nothing. Whereas this one, it's good if you don't have it, because then you get to take an action. And there's 4 different actions, 1 for each suit. And also if you win the trick, you get that suit action as well. So what you do is you have all these little diamonds in the middle of the table, and you have these safes in front of you, which are just like cardboard screens. And you'll start with a few diamonds outside your screen, and that is considered in your showcase, your diamond showcase. And you're trying to get as many diamonds into your safe, so behind your screen, as possible. And each suit has a different action. So the diamond action, I think you get to actually take one from the middle and actually just place it right in your safe. Whereas one you can steal from other people's showcases and put it in your showcase. And then there's one where you can just take a diamond from the middle and put it in front of your showcase. And then I can't remember exactly what the 4th one does, but it's so neat because at the beginning of the round, you can choose, if you're the dealer, to pass 0, 1, or 2 cards, I believe. So if you have like a really good hand, you're like, no, we're not passing this round. Or if you don't have a good hand, you will pass, say we're going to pass 2, and you'll pass 2 cards. So that can really change up the game too. You might have this hand of cards and you're like, I really don't want to pass, but the dealer's like, yep, we're passing 2. Give me those good ones. And you can give them anything. You don't have to give your highest or anything, but It's so neat, and just going back and forth, stealing each other's diamonds, and then not knowing what's behind everyone's screen, thinking, I think they've got a lot, so let's kind of go after them and pick on them. But you know, there might be someone quiet over there that just secretly was putting diamonds behind their screen and you weren't really paying attention. Plus, at the end of the round, whoever has the most of each suit gets that action as well. So there's all kinds of things going on all the time, and it's really different and unique, and I really like it. And that's my number 4, diamonds.
Nice. My number 4 is Dealt. This was published in 2018. It was created by Cut Jester Mel, and it was published by Amigo. And this is a neat one. So you get your card. Now, you can't pick up your card until it's been fully dealt out. Then you pick up your cards and you spread them out, and you cannot sort them, which is really hard to do the first time. It's just like second nature. You sort your cards. But with this one, you cannot sort them. And then you have 2 tokens that are given to you, and then you have 2 cards dealt in front of you face up as well. So, and then on your turn, and it's trick taking, and this one is like we're ladder climbing, because, you know, if you put a single card, you can beat it with a pair, but then or a run of 2 cards and so on. But so you can kind of play your cards together, but then, you know, 3 of a kind would beat a run of 2 and so on. Like, it's, so there's the thing on what beats what. But you can't sort. So you kind of want to play strategically. So, okay, well, I have 2, 3, 7, 4, 5. So then I'm going to try to play the 7. So I have a 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when you play your cards, you got to play them in the clusters of how they are in your hand. So you're trying to play cards that will kind of connect different things together. Now, 2, 3, 4, 5 don't have to be in that specific order. If you had like 3, 2, 4, 5, that still counts as a run, and so on. So you're trying to connect the cards together. And then if you ever draw a card, like if you're unable to play, you can go and pick up one of the 2 cards that's in the reserve in front of you. And then when you do that, you get to put it specifically where it would make more sense for you in your hand. So then you can kind of control where it goes. There are cards that like has a stop that kind of automatically stops the round. There's another card that, I don't know, makes people score twice as much or something like that. You're trying to, or they make you pick up 2 cards. It makes you pick up 2 cards or something like that. And then if you're unable to go on your turn and you've used up your cards in reserve, then you have to give up one of your black tokens. And then if you ever have that happen and you don't have a black token to give up, you lose the game. So you basically play until somebody loses. Mm-hmm. But it's such a neat game with the way, like, the not sorting, the clumping together, and it's a fun one. So that's my number 4, Dealt.
That's a really good one. My number 3 is Marshmallow Test, made in 2020 by Reiner Knizia.
That's an interesting name.
And it's neat how he named it, because you've heard of the actual Marshmallow Test, where you give like kids, you put them in a room and you give them 1 marshmallow on a plate, and you tell them you can have this marshmallow, or if you wait 5 minutes, you can have 5 or whatever, however many, and then you like sit and videotape them and you see what they do. Like, it's funny because I watched a video on the game before I bought it, and the guy actually did this with his kids before he showed how to play the game.
That's funny.
But it was funny because he had these 2 little kids. One was like 2 and maybe 4 or 5, and so they're just sitting there like, oh, they're smelling the marshmallow. But they both waited, and so he came back in the room and he's like, oh, okay, the marshmallow's still there. So he gave them 5, and they threw them all in their mouth and ate them.
Nice.
So it's a thing that they did for, and I think they did it with like adults too, just to see like what your willpower is or whatever. But it is kind of carried over in the theme in the game. So you have different suits, I can't remember how many again, and you play like a normal trick-taking game. There will be a trump, not the first round, but after that you'll have a trump suit, and that one would win the trick. And what you're trying to do though is win tricks depending on player count. Say for 4 players, I don't know if this is exact, that you you will go out once you've won 3 tricks. So the trick is, though, when you go out, you're only going to get the amount of points that other people, however many other tricks people have got. So you'll go out with 3, but you won't get your 3. Say somebody had 1 trick here, someone had 2 there, and someone had 1. You'd get 4 points. So, okay. And the thing is, yeah, it's interesting because then the second player is going to get more, right? And the third player is going to get even more. But if you wait too long and you're the last player, you get nothing. So you can't just wait out trying to get, I'll just wait till everybody goes out because you get nothing. But the one consolation you get as the last player is you get to pick the trump suit next round. So you get your hand dealt to you and then you get to choose the trump. So it kind of gives you a little bit of, an advantage if you're a loser. And then you play up to, I can't remember how many tricks or how many points. And then once somebody gets to that, they win. So it's kind of weird because you're trying to balance, well, okay, I want to win, I have to win 3 tricks, but I don't want to win them all right away because I'm going to go out and get 0 points because nobody else has any. So you have to play differently again, where it's not just about winning tricks. It's about, okay, well, I want to lose a few, but now I need to win them. I need to go out. And it's really neat. And I think he remade this from a different theme, but this theme totally fits this game because you kind of have to wait and be patient and try to get the most points.
That's funny.
It's really neat, though. Yeah, and that's my number 3, Marshmallow Test.
Perfect. Well, my number 3 is a crossover, and that's Stickem. It was published in 1993 by Klaus Palisch, and it's published by Amigo Game. And I mean, as you described it, so you get your hand of cards, and then you look at them, and then you'll pick one to be your pain suit, and you'll put that face down in front of you. Now, the card you put down is going to be part of your cards in your hand, so you're trying to have as little points as possible. And I believe this one has a 0 card where you don't score. And then the way that it works is you'll kind of take turns starting the trick, and then the person that starts the trick will put a card down. And that one, the color that's played makes it so that every other color's trump except for this one. So if my pain color was yellow and I played a yellow card, let's say, then everybody else is going to try to play yellow below mine so that I have to collect all the yellows, right? And I was like, oh no, that hurt. Yeah. But if they played any other color, that other color automatically trumps the yellow. So it's a very interesting game. And yeah, you're just trying to play so that be like, oh, I see what you did there. Oh, I'm going to slip a yellow in there. And then you got to say, oh, no, what did you do? So it's neat. I've played it with I played with Michael, who was the one who introduced me to this game. And I've played it with my family. And Lily really likes to take that element in games that kind of come out. She loved it. She did great with it as well. So that's my number 3, Stickem.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so fun. I want to play it in a big group.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
All right. My number 2 is a crossover, and this is Krass Kariet, which is otherwise known as Delt.
Oh, yes.
I just have the German named one. But yeah, I love this game. And the reason I love this is that for me, it replaced asshole. Or
yeah.
Asshole
oh, yeah.
slash, what's the...
President.
There's so many different words. Yeah. President. But we used to play this all the time, and I started to hate that game because it just went on and on and on and on and on, and my kids would always want to play it. And then when they got girlfriends and boyfriends, it was like, yeah, let's play this. I'm like, no. So when I got this game, I'm like, okay, this is like a version of it, because President is basically a ladder climbing game, right?
Yeah.
You just need to beat the other player. But this one, because you have those 2 in front of you, and it's like, there's an ending to this game. So, you never end in President. You end when the loudest person is like, yeah, I'm President, Kate, we're done. That's it. I'm ending this way. But I love this one. And for me, this has replaced President, whatever you want to call it. Scum, I think it's called. There's all different kinds of word names for it. But that's my number 2, Krass Kariet / Delt. Same game.
Nice.
Just a German English name.
My number 2 is also a crossover, and that's Five Cucumbers, published in 2013. It's created by Friedman Freeze. I didn't realize it was created by him until I was writing this down. I'm like,
Oh, really?
oh, it is a green game, and it does start with an F. So
Yeah.
that should have been a dead giveaway. And it was published by Stronghold Games. And this is funny. I mean, I've talked about this game a lot on our channel just because it's a game that I love. And the first time I played it, it was me and Lyle, just the two of us, and I was gonna donate it, and we sat down to play with it, and we saw the little cucumber bits, and he's like looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and he's like whispering, "Keep this one," and I was like, "I will." And I'm so glad I kept it because this is one of my most played games ever. I love it. There's only one suit. It's the cucumbers. And you play 7 rounds, and whoever plays the highest card wins the trick. But if you cannot play higher than the previous card that was played, like tie or higher, you have to play your lowest card. Not any card you want. It has to be the lowest card. And the point, like, because the lowest card is a 1, and what happens with the 1 is it doubles the points of the final round, because you don't score any of the round until the 7th round. Then on the 7th round, you're trying not to win that one, and whoever wins it, the card on it. So like you have like, I think it's 1 to 14 or something like that. Oh no, 1 to 15. But on the card, there's pictures of cucumbers on there. And if you win the trick with a 5, let's say, and there's 2 cucumbers on it, then you have to collect 2 cucumber wooden tokens. And whoever reaches 5 cucumbers is eliminated. So it's an elimination game, which sometimes is annoying, but the rounds go fairly quick. So even if you're eliminated, it's not for a long time. But it's so neat. And then, so if somebody managed to hold on to a 1 in the final round and they had a 5, they would pick up 2 cucumbers. But because there's a round, it doubles the number of cucumbers you get. You would actually get 4 cucumbers. So neat component with this, first of all. That's what won me over. But the game is cool. It's so much fun. Yeah, and that's my number 2, 5 cucumbers.
Yeah, it's so good, and for it to work with 2 people, like
it works at any player count. Really,
games don't work with 2 people unless they're specifically made for 2 people. But yeah, it worked really well. And you had taught me one time at your house, and I loved it. Good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 1 is a crossover as well, and that's Scout, made in 2019 by Kai Kajino. I love this game. This is so fun. It's similar to Delt. That's why these 2 are at the top of my list, but this one, what I like better is the part where you can take like Scout and take a card off the table, which is neat because then it's very tactical. It changes up the game again because you look in your hand and this thing is building up in the middle and you're like, I'm never going to beat this. And then somebody scouts and takes the card off and then it's easier to beat. So it's so neat, and it's played quick too because technically the game is played in the amount of rounds as people. Right. And you can play this at 2 as well, and it works well at 2. It works well at all player counts, and it's quick, and you just collect your points, and then usually you end up playing a couple games of this, but just the fact, just like in Delt, where you pick up your cards and you can't arrange them is so hard for, especially like a long-time card player. Because you're just so used to picking up cards, sorting them out right away. So you have to be like, okay, now you can't sort those cards. Pick them up and keep them. And either hold them, take that one, or you can flip them. Because there's numbers on both ends. I can't remember if you mentioned that, but which is neat. So you look at your hand and then you can see what the bottoms would be, and that might suit you better. So you'll be like, oh, well, that way I have runs and some sets together, so I'm going to flip them. But that's the only time you can flip them. But the neat thing, too, about scouting is when you take the card, you can choose which side and where to put it in your hand. And it's such a fun game. I like this. I had brought this to Falcon, but we never did end up playing it. But so fun. That's my number 1, Scout.
That is a neat one. Like I was said, I played it last year. I remember liking it. I got to get my own copy. And then get it played again. So my number 1... Do you have an idea what it is?
Is it a crossover?
Nope.
Oh, I know what it is, and I missed it on my list. It's Teach You, isn't it?
No, actually, Teach You was my number 10. So just missed it. No, my number one is Vampire Queen.
Oh,
I talk about this one
learned this one either.
all the time. Oh, you've never? Oh my God, that's why.
No.
Yeah, no, was published in 2016. It's a Wolfgang Kramer game, and it was published by Schmidt. And I love this one. And this one I purchased by accident because I purchased a lot of games, and then like there was a bunch of different games in it, and I was buying it because I wanted the boss monster in it. That was the game that I recognized the most. And they had Vampire Queen in there. Now my version is well loved. You can tell they had played this a lot, and then we got playing it, and I see why. It's amazing. And you have all these cards that are numbered from 1 to 14, and they all have, like, each number have like a different type of artwork on it that are Victorian era vampires. And like the number 14 is the Vampire Queen. Now she can be used as a wild as well. And then you got 2 cards that are Vampire Hunters. And those ones, you can never discard them. Like if you pick them up in the trick, then they go in your hand and you can't play them like and discard them per se. Somebody's always going to have them in their hand. One's worth 15 points, one's worth 20 points. You play 5 rounds. You get like 13 cards, you play 5 rounds, and then whoever has the least amount of points at the end is the winner, because you'll be playing. So let's say I play 3 threes. Then the next player has to play 3 cards higher than my 3s. So be like, okay, well, I can play 3 8s. And then the next person's like, well, I can play 3 10s. And then the next person's like, well, I can play 2 11 and a queen, which is a wild, so that it makes it 3 11. And then they win the trick. So then that all goes away, and then they can play the next round. So if they have a Vampire Hunter, they could start the trick with a Vampire Hunter. Now, when you have a Vampire Hunter, everybody has to put a single card in the trick, and they don't, you don't have to be higher than the previous person. You all put a card in the trick, but you're trying to play a low card, because whoever wins that trick, and if like I had put a 2 and then the next person puts a 2, there's like, okay, good, now they're the higher 2 technically. And then the next person puts a 1, and then one person's like, damn it, I only have a 4. Then the person who played the 4 has to take all of those cards, including the Vampire Hunter, and it goes into their hand, kind of creating a bigger hand. Because the goal is to try to be the first person to empty out your hand, then your score is 0. And everybody else has to tally up all the numbers of the cards they have left in their hands, and then that's their score. It's great. I love this game. I suck at this game. I don't know why. There was one time my score was well over 500. And on average, a high score like is in the 130 maybe. So I don't know how I managed to get 500. I wasn't trying to lose. I was playing to win, but it was not working out. But it's such a neat game. I just absolutely adore this one. And that's my number 1, Vampire Queen.
Awesome. We'll have to play this. It's in spooky season next month.
Oh, yes, we need to.
We have to have a Halloween night and play a bunch of spooky games.
That's great. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about our favorite food-themed games.
No, we're going to do the fauna next week.
Oh, is that? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So like a nature-themed game.
Nature. Oh, okay.
It'll be
nature games.
Right after fall hits
so,
here in Alberta.
Pretend you didn't hear anything about the food-themed game. Maybe it'll be coming, maybe it won't.
That'll be coming up too, though. That'll be coming up the Thanksgiving week. Yeah, after Thanksgiving, or like Canadian
Thanksgiving, yeah.
So
then next week, episode 35 is going to be our top 9 nature-themed game. Now, before we end this episode, Carla, where can we find you?
Before I say that, there was a couple that I wanted to mention that are coming out, some new trick-taking ladder climbing games. There's one called, it's a Christmas-themed game. It's called Ghosts of Christmas Past. Oh. Now, it is actually out. You can buy it. I just haven't purchased it yet because it's not Christmas season. Probably should get it before they're all gone. But
yeah, no kidding.
This one, you have tricks that you play in the past, present, and future, which I don't know exactly how it works, but I know one you play in the present, you can change your future trick to a different suit. Like, it's very mind-boggling, and it looks really interesting, but it's got a lot of buzz. that one. There's another one that at Gen Con, like, was the game of the con that sold out. Everybody ran to it, and it's a Bezier game called Cat in the Box.
I heard of that, yeah.
And these cards are all one color. They're black, I think, with like white writing on them. But you have a little player or a mat in front of everyone, and you will choose what color with these discs, what cards you're playing. And now I don't know the rest of the mechanics, but it sounds intriguing because just choosing what color, and I think one can only ever be chosen once per game. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how that works, but that sounds cool. And then there's another one that was kickstarted, and I didn't kickstart it, and I kind of regret it. It's called For Northwood, and it's a solo trick-taking game.
Oh!
Which, what? How is a solo trick-taking game? But it was a print and play. Like, I just should have done that. But it'll come out to retail, and it's these little animal villages, I think, or factions that you have to manipulate. And it just looked really interesting. But I think I was backing so many things that one sort of got pushed back. But probably will pick this up at retail. But yeah, those are some newer ones that the first two are out already, if you can find them in stock somewhere, but I'll definitely have to try those ones. But if you want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Boardgame Specialist, all one word, and I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
So on Facebook, you can find me at Mel and Friends Board Game Room. My YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room, and on Instagram it's Mel's_boardgame_room. So I guess that's it for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye for now. Thanks for listening.